One powder and 2 different bullets will cover pretty much all your needs for 300 Blackout for both subsonic and supersonic. We're going to take a look at that in depth in this video. Hey guys, Gavin here from ultimatereloader.com. We are back with more 300 Blackout content. This is one of my favorite cartridges. It's one of my favorite shooting scenarios, and we've done a ton with it so far. In fact, with the 220 grain bullets, we've covered multiple cartridges. I want to take a moment and just share with you to recap some information about why this is so compelling. So, heavy bullets traveling slow work for subsonic applications, but if you don't have the right bullets, it gets really, really expensive. This is the revamped Ultimate Reloader cost calculator that's a part of Ultimate Reloader Pro. Ultimate Reloader Pro has monthly live events, an exclusive discussion forum, weekly exclusive videos, and tools. This is one of those tools. So what we can see here is current market data. I did notice that the Barry's 220 grain 300 Blackout bullets are actually less expensive than they used to be, which helps us. So the bottom line is, and you can go through these numbers and try the tool yourself if you're a pro member, is factory ammunition for 220 grain can be easily $1.30 per round. That's $25.99 per 20 pack. And for our reloads with Barry's 220 grains, we're looking at 37 cents per round, right? So if we load 1,000 of these, and if we shoot 1,000 of these for factory, it's $12.99.50, and our reloads save us $931.11 because the reloads cost $368.39. So the long and the short of it is, if you shoot a lot of subsonic 300 Blackout, you definitely want to be loading your own ammunition and you want to be reusing those shell casings. Okay, so that's why we care about loading and reloading 300 Blackout. Just as a quick recap, the Barry's 220 grain 30 caliber bullets, very cost effective. If you click through the article, we'll have more information about that. We've covered this in 300 Blackout, 308 Winchester, subsonic, super fun. And also these are great bullets for 7.62x39, for the AK platform, for those 7.62x39 ARs. We have a couple of those. Super fun stuff. And in the AK, they work super well, super reliably. I will note that these bullets require a 1 in 10.5 twist minimum, which is great because it's going to work with some of those 308 Winchesters like what we've shown, and so on and so forth. 300 Blackout specifies 1 in 8 twist per SAMI specifications. So these are optimal there. These bullets were designed for 300 Blackout, and we've had outstanding results with them. So what we did was we loaded up some 220s with H110 and kind of refined our load data. Did a little bit of shooting. I'll show you some of that here. And what we came up with for this load was 10.74 grains of H110. Again, don't use this load data. Go to hodgdon.com or other reloading manuals to make sure that your data is going to be safe. 1029.1 average velocity, that's right around that optimal 1050, right? If we get up towards 1100, we're going to get into that transonic, supersonic range, and that's going to result in cracks, and we don't want that. So I would rather actually be a little bit under. I'd rather be at 1,000 than be at like 1080, just to give us that extra little insurance policy against supersonic cracks happening, especially if we happen to not be using hearing protection, which I can't advise you to do that, but it is something that people do with subsonic loads like these 220 grain, 300 Blackout loads. Okay, so 2.230 inch cartridge overall length. These fed great out of a steel magazine. The firearm that we're using here is an AR-15 with an Anderson upper, and that is 16 inches. And then we've got the Omega 300 suppressor on this particular rig. This is a good all-around rig for 300 Blackout shooting, and it's one that we've used in multiple stories. So This load with H110 turned out great. And then now let's talk about a new bullet. We have not had any experience with this bullet prior to this story. This is the Barry's Manufacturing 300 Blackout 150 grain Spire Point. Now we do have 30 caliber bullets from Barry's that are very similar to this, but they have flat points because they are specifically for the 30-30. That's right. You don't want pointed tips on your bullets when you have a tubular magazine and you have a lever gun, because that's not safe with those tips banging against the primers, right? So you need those flat points. Well, flat point bullets won't feed out of AR-15 mags for these subsonic applications or supersonic applications, but Spire points do feed incredibly well. So we're going to be able to go up to 1,650 feet per second with the 1-in-7 twist barrel, and up to 1,350 feet per second with a 1-in-5 twist barrel. Ours is Sammy's specification at 1-in-8, so we could probably go a little bit above that 1,650, but I held that as a ceiling because that was the fastest velocity specified by Barry's Manufacturing for any of these. Cartridge overall length 2.150. We actually went to 2.110, very close to that. And the bullet overall length is 1.013 inches if you need that. This is cool because it's just like the 220, but it's shorter and it's lighter weight. And that means it's going to be ideal for supersonic loads. And that was a part of the big sort of value proposition of 300 Blackout, is for special forces and law enforcement organizations, you can run heavy subsonic loads and you can run lighter supersonic loads and have more ballistic and tactical versatility with the same firearm, with the same spec, and then just adjust the load accordingly. So I went through multiple load increments with the charge weight. I thought it would be ideal if I could use H110 for both of these loads. In fact, I want to show you this really quick. I have a seating die marked 220 and I have a seating die marked 150, and that means I can just swap that out here on the Lock and Load AP. I like to use progressive presses for loading, even for load development for this kind of thing, because that's the press that we're going to load it on, and it's super quick, super efficient compared to running a single stage and a powder dispenser for a higher volume cartridge like the 300 Blackout. So where did we end up at? We ended up at 13.75 grains of H110 and shot some across the chronograph. That was this. So the result from this load development was an average velocity of 1511.4 and an SD of 14.3. Yes, we could go up to 1,650 feet per second, but I liked the SD that I got with this load and the performance seemed great, so I stuck with that. And again, we've got 2.110 inch cartridge overall length, and that's one of the reasons we've got two seating dies. If the front of the bullet is the same, well, we've got a deeper effective seating with the 150, so we've just got dedicated dies. Very easy to switch back and forth. Another thing I want to show you here is we've got a micrometer on our powder measure, so I made notes and even took photos of the micrometer readings so that I could switch back and forth, which worked excellent. So what you might be wondering is, how does the energy compare, right? If we want stopping power, we're definitely going to have more kinetic energy with our lighter load. Because we're not bound by that supersonic velocity, right? We can go up quite a bit. And again, this is a conservative load. We've got 1511.4 feet per second, and that yields a kinetic energy of 761 foot-pounds. Now, if we go to the 220, we've got more weight, but we've got less velocity, and kinetic energy is 1/2 mv squared, right? So if you double the velocity, you quadruple the kinetic energy. So that's why our lighter but faster load had more energy than our heavier, slower load, right? Velocity was 1029.1 average, yielding a kinetic energy of 517.6. So we've got basically almost 50% more kinetic energy with our 150 grain load, and we can push that even further. So what are the practical applications here? I would say if I was going to be shooting rock chucks or something like that, I needed velocity, I would definitely go with the 150 grain load, and I would jack that up even more. If I'm shooting subsonic and shooting steel and don't want to use, hearing protection, which is a personal preference, not saying that you should do that, but I do that if I'm very confident that I'm below transonic and below supersonic, I would definitely go with the 220 grain load. It's really fun. It's friendly to the bystanders, the people that are hanging out with you, right? Because not having to use hearing protection is just a great convenience. And visually here, you can see side by side the differences in velocity and in energy. Okay, to wrap it all up, we found one powder, Hodgdon H110, that worked with two bullets, Barry's 150 grain 300 Blackout and Barry's 220 grain 300 Blackout, and a very fast and efficient, easy to switch over loading setup. I am super happy with these results. Plus, this is an incredibly economical way and a flexible way to shoot 300 Blackout. So we cut costs in half and then some. That is super impressive. That's why we reload, right? And we can also tailor it to each individual firearm, which is something that you should look at doing. We have 300 Blackout rifles that range from 5-inch barrel to 6-inch barrel, in that range, all the way up to 16-inch. And that means that you're going to likely want to tune your loads for reliable functioning and for consistent velocity. The 150 grain berries were great for our supersonic loads. 220 grain berries were great for our subsonic loads. And there's definitely more work to do, and I'm happy to say we've got more subsonic load stories coming. In fact, Hodgdon has dedicated subsonic loading data in their rifle reloading data section on Hodgdon.com. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about powders for versatility. We're going to talk about powders for efficient burn and different subsonic applications. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications so that you don't miss any of those stories. If you have specific feedback, if you have loads that you'd like to share, please drop a comment. I'll see you in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. Hey guys, thank you very much for watching this video. First off, if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, go to ultimatereloader.com/subscribe. There you'll find content recaps, free downloadable resources, and the inside scoop with regard to what's going on at Ultimate Reloader. Some great deals that we can invite you to there as well. Second of all, we are just on the heels of announcing our new exclusive membership community called Ultimate Reloader Pro. There's a bunch of great stuff there. One of the things I want to highlight is our software tools. This is where you'll find some of the familiar tools like our reloading cost calculator, but we also have things like neck bushing size calculators and more. So if you want to enhance your reloading experience, go to ultimatereloader.com/pro. Looking forward to seeing you there. Thank you.